The Heat right now do not have Jimmy Butler and Terry Rozier, possibly two of their top 3 scorers on their team. But yet they're still competing in games. They beat Boston game 2. This is how they did it, right? You got 14, 11, 21, 21, 24, 9, 6, 5. Everybody's eating. But the question becomes, how does everybody eat? In a situation where you do have a Herro and a Bam who are better than everyone else, but then everybody else is still cooking and still getting busy. Y'all got to understand, especially when it comes to those players outside the top 2. In order for the entire team to thrive, outside of Tyler, Herro, and Bam, who are going to get theirs, they have to utilize Herro and Bam when they do get into their own attacks. So Jaquez got this. Screen by Bam, we're going against a drop coverage with Kristaps. And now notice this with Tyler Herro, right? Herro, Drew Holiday's not helping. So now he has his whole side to go right, and it forces Derek White to now be the person to pinch in, still in the paint, kick out to Jovic. Jovic, first shot of the game, boom, knocks that down. You got to utilize the gravity of your teammates if you want to be able to play at the highest level. The Heat are vastly undermanned, like we just seen before. You've seen the roster. But the way as to which they're going to pick apart this Boston defense, the most talented team in the NBA, is by the simple 2-man action right here. Watch, right? With this 2-man action between Tyler Herro and Bam Adebayo, they're going to do one thing this entire game. Advantages. Watch every play going forward and how they're going to cook with this, right? So you got Herro coming off this screen. Talked about it already. Kristaps in a drop. Watch Herro's next move. Watch his next move. This is perfect. That move right there. Boom, got him. We all know that's a hezzy, but what's the parts of a hezzy, right? This is for y'all hoopers that want to throw that hezzy in if you really do need it, right? Notice, you need these 3 parts to a hezzy. You need, first and foremost, you need to have your base, right? You need to have your base, because if you want to get into a shot, you could go up, or if you want to drive, you have all the action potential to go ahead and drive. 2, you need the eyes up, right? You need to show the eyes that you're actually looking at the rim. You may actually shoot. 3, you need that offhand to at least get up a little bit. You get all 3 of those parts, it's going to be tough for a defender not to bite on your hezzy in a situation where they're trying to especially recover, or they fall into sleep, or they're trying to anticipate. So now Herro makes a simple play, help from the strong side corner, throws it right back to Jovic, right there, boom. He ends up getting that bucket from the corner. 2 threes from Jovic. In order for Miami to actually win just this game, but also the series, they cannot try to play ISO basketball. They don't got a bunch of ISO players, but it's going to be timely ISOs like Bam is here. You're going to see Bam only attack Jaylen Brown in isolation. That's going to be the main person that he goes at and goes to attack, because that's the one that he's most comfortable with. That's the one he has most favor in, right? And so when they got Bam on a Jaylen Brown, they're going to clear out and let Bam go to work. He's not just going to ISO anybody. He's going to be smart with it. Jab, he stayed with that. Once again, gets into his middle, got the size on it. Notice this right here. Drop, boom, separation. Bam been working on his offense. Been working on his game in the offseason. You can definitely tell, because every year the playoffs come around, he's a high-level performer. Every year on both sides of the ball. Going into a series against a team like Boston, this is bound to happen. Not just a 3 from Jason Tatum, but ultimately another, bucket by Jason Tatum. And then guess what else is going to happen, right? Another 3 by Jason Tatum. That's 10 points in about the first 5 minutes of the game. There's another bucket he had from Jason Tatum. And so Miami's perspective, how do we deal with those scenarios? How do we deal with these situations? You know this is going to happen, but the key is to continuously play your game and understand that this is bound to happen and we cannot get shocked, because this is going to happen. Like I keep saying, it's going to happen. So by the time it happens, they continuously play their game. Now, early offense in transition, we go against a drop, and that's where everything changes, because that drop coverage is a gold mine for guards and for teams who decide to move the ball. So understand, at this point, the second that Herro comes off this screen and Jaylen Brown is trailing, responsibilities all over the court now shift. You now have Horford, who has to guard 2 in Herro and Bam. You now have the tag, who's going to end up being Kristaps Porzingis, who has to worry about Bam and then the second pass out. Then you have Derek White, who has to worry about the first pass out and then where that pass may go after that. So he has to worry about Jovic and Jaquez, right, depending on where it gets thrown. So now you only got Jaylen Brown, who's guarding 1, Pritchard, who's guarding 1 in this corner, who's not helping, strong side. And so now Bam on that roll, Porzingis on that tag, Jovic straight swing to Jaquez at the top. He lifted up, no closeout, he gets that bucket. This is real offense. This sequence that's about to happen right here is vital for how Miami is able to control the game, right? So you got Tyler Herro, who's going to get this screen here from Martin, then another screen here from Bam. Derek White's on him, switch with Hauser, he brings that back. Notice what Tyler Herro does right quick, right? This is a little gem, right? Look at his eyes are looking up, but where does the ball go? Straight to Caleb Martin, because notice how that put Derek White to sleep, right? Notice, the second that he brought that ball back, looked at the rim, Derek White just sat there and held. He didn't even realize he was going to throw that to Caleb Martin, who's now moving over. So now, boom, left wing shot by Caleb Martin. Boom, he knocks that down. Give me that bucket. So understand, they try to run the same set again. Derek White's a little more prepared. So now he's able to get over this, right? And what ultimately ends up transpiring in this play is what usually happens oftentimes, especially in high school. So y'all can even learn from this. So at this point, Tyler Herro, get into this action with Bam. Let me see what we got. I end up getting left. Do I have options? Nah, I don't got nothing. Rescreen going to the right side. I end up now getting to this right side. See too many bodies. I don't have the height. I actually got a negative wingspan. I'm Tyler Herro. I got a negative wingspan. It's tough for me to get these passes in these angles. So what ends up transpiring now, all right, we don't got anything. Kick to Jovic. He don't got nothing. 6 seconds on the shot clock, right? Shot clock, most importantly. Some of y'all don't have shot clocks. Bam gets it. This is where I face up in the ISO and I get busy. Not just when I want to come down the court and have all the time in the world and I feel like doing so. This is where you got to do so. You just got to get to something. So now Bam goes and plays ISO right here with Kristaps. Boom, gets into that fade. Bucket, right? This is a vital sequence what's about to happen here. So notice, defensively, let's talk about defensively with Miami, is that they are going against the Kristaps. He does have length. How do you defend the length, right? Pause. How do you defend the length? No diddy. So now Tatum ends up getting this from the top. Jovic is on the high side. He thinks he got it. Watch what Jovic does. Instead of just running back and being a bot, throws the hands in there. Got to get hands on that. Make that pass as difficult as it can be. And so now the momentum. Understand the momentum of this game, right? 42-44. He calls for this early offense like I talked about before. And now slip up right here. Porzingis high. We create another advantage. Jovic with this. Derek White tries to slow down that pass. He does. But Caleb Martin, little jab, gets Hauser to go down to that paint. Shot by Caleb Martin. Understand the reaction, though. I told y'all this is an important sequence, and I'm not lying. Because after they hit this 45-44, they take the lead. What ends up happening now is that Boston had called a timeout, right? Boston had called a timeout. And now, y'all, if y'all understand, when team calls a timeout, you're using that to get the team recuperated, to get them back in their flow, to be able to run the offense you need to and be able to stop that run. So Mazzulla, at this point in time, he probably called out a set. All right, next time we come in, we're going to run this set against this type of defense, and we're going to try to get you in your spot or get that player in their spot and do this, do that. But Miami, they switched up their defense. They ran a full court press. And so now for Boston, mentally, it's like, oh, shit, we might panic a little bit. So understand what happens even now within this play. Drew Holiday gets the ball from the inbound. Everybody clears out, right? You got it. And so with this full court press, you got Tyler Herro, who's the elephant in this series, right? They're trying to attack him. What does this now tell Drew Holiday? All right, if I get any sort of angle, I'm going. But little do you know, the angle that you got is going to be met with more defense. And you played exactly into the game and into the game that we laid out for y'all. And now what ends up occurring right off a timeout. We get that stop, bam, Euro, boom, we get that 2. 4 or 5 point possible swing because they switched that defense and now they're able to expand their lead instead of losing that lead. Right, so understand, this is a side out of bounds play, right? Side out of bounds. And so when Miami does decide to run isolations, they're off a set. It's intentional, right? And so now Highsmith gets this pass. He throws it down to Bam, who now has Al Horford. And you're like, oh, I thought he only attacks Jaylen Brown. Oh, this is off a set, though, and he's going to have the room to be able to attack Al Horford. And it's not because he can't score against him. It's just that at certain times, we're not just going to deliberately go ahead and attack someone. We need to make sure they have the proper space, which stops a lot of players from being able to be isolation players because they don't know how the floor needs to be spaced. And so now Bam ends up getting here, right? Highsmith on the cut. What is Bam now going to do? What space does he have, right? He has room going to this middle. You got shooters up there. I could just get to my spots that I worked on the offseason, get my bucket. Notice his next possession as well, right? Dribble that over. Boom, Bam gets this catch. Bam just needs space. Where is he going to have his space? We got the baseline right here. That doesn't sound like a smart thing to do. Can't do much from over there. Martin cuts as soon as he clears out. Once again, jab to that left side, and now I begin to get into my fades. You know what I'm saying? Fade over the top over Horford, bucket. He's not just going to be able to score off those isolations you see with Brown and Horford. He's also going to be able to play within these sets. And this is a majority of possessions. Y'all got to understand this. You've seen some of these isolations, but more often than not, or more often than ISO, he's setting screens, right? He's running these plays. He may not get the touch and get the bucket, but he's doing what he needs to do. And it's not like he's just running ISO after ISO after ISO looking to get his. It just ends up occurring that at times he's going to get that ISO, but majority of the time he's setting screens like he does right here. And he's also built his bag. He's built his skill set to be prepared for these situations. Drop coverage, the person who's going to get back to you stepping far back. Now, right, left, step up, shot off a short roll, bucket. Bam's getting his bag. And like I said, you better watch out. When it comes down to closing out games and you have the lead, this is where a team like the Lakers can learn from. Now, with 3 minutes left, 13 on the shot clock, Tyler Herro gets this catch, and this is when they begin to get into their action. Not at the start of the third quarter when you have a 20-point lead or halfway through the third. They wait until the last 3 to 4 minutes to slow down their offense and get into their attacks. Because if you stray away from what has gotten you there and something you can't maintain, then it's going to be hard to be able to keep yourself in the advantage, keep yourself in the lead, right? So now what ends up happening? Screen, White doesn't clear out. White tries to tell Porzingis go to the other side and make a rotation, but he big as hell. He ain't going to do that. Swing to Caleb Martin. He gets that 3 on the wing. High quality looks. We take slow possessions when in the last 4 minutes or so of the game, which is the most important part. And if you want to see part 2 to this breakdown, make sure you go to the Patreon where I'm going to do a breakdown that talks about the direct stuff you need to learn as a hooper from this game exactly, and the workout that you need so you can apply it to a game, all the visualization that you need so you can apply it to a game. And then by the time you get into the game, you're going to be completely prepared mentally and physically, because the third thing I'm posting is also a weight room workout with that. So make sure that if you want to see that part 2, you go ahead, click that Patreon, top of the chat. Make sure or at the top of the description. Make sure that you sacrifice your present self and invest into your future self. And do everything you need to do to get to where you're here to be. So discipline or regret, you choose.